Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Dixie Lincoln Nichols, and today is day two of I'm back, my 30-day YouTube challenge. I made it. I am committed to this. I'm gonna do this. So thank you for being here. So today, on the second day, I'm going to talk about why I decided to take a self-care sabbatical. In my last video, I shared a bit about myself, my origin story, some of my early life, why I have an affinity to videos, why I like photos so much. And today I'm going to share why I decided to leap knowing God and the universe and life would catch me. My grandmother actually told me that after I told her that I was thinking of leaving my teaching career for entrepreneurship and basically to figure out what I wanted to do in life. So, how did I arrive at that decision? Okay, let's rewind to 18. I had my first daughter when I was 18 years old. So, I was a teenage mother. I mentioned that in my first video. Needless to say, life was complicated, navigating relationships, navigating the responsibilities of being a young mother, navigating getting an education so that I could provide for my child, etc., etc. Fast forward to my second child, whom I had 13 years later, trust me, after having a child at 18, I'm sorry, getting pregnant at 18, having a child at 19, there was no way I was going to bring another child into the world without a plan and being prepared. So I waited 13 years and then had my second daughter. Nonetheless, because again, and I come back to community, because I learned from incredible women how to take care, how to nurture, how to nourish human beings, it was easy for me to put my children first. And also, that's what was modeled for me and to me by the incredible women in my community, the mothers and the grandmothers. I grew up with my grandmother. And so, she and her friends and other women in the village, a lot of the times centered the needs of others and again left themselves undone. So that was the model for me, a model of how to exist within community in a caring and compassionate way, but at the same time, a model of taking care of everyone else and leaving yourself undone. And so something about that didn't quite mesh with me. And I'll never forget, I was looking at my daughter, I think was maybe about 6 months old, and I was looking at an episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show, and she had a guest on. Her name, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember her name. I'm drawing a blank. It could be because of brain fog. It could be because I just forgot. If I remember, I'll come back. But anyway, she had a guest on her show and she asked the question, would you put your needs in front of your child's? I think that's how. It's not verbatim. More or less, that's what the question was asking. And she said, yes. And the audience was like, oh, God, how could she even think about putting her needs before that of her child? And I sat there and I thought, I gasped like members in the audience did, but there was something there that said, this kind of makes some sense. She explained why. She explained that in order to take care of her child, she has to take care of herself. And she needed to be well in order to take care of her child. And I kind of left that there. I didn't dig any further because it's not the model that I was taught. It's not the way I was raised. I was raised, you better take care of them kids. You better take care of the people who you are charged to take care of and then take care of yourself, which the woman in my village pulled off quite beautifully. At least so I thought at the time. But they were masters at doing what they did because they felt they had no other choice. Years later, fast forward now to, so this was back in 1991. So fast forward now to 2000, and I would say around 2009, 10. Somehow I started yearning for something more, yearning for something different, knowing there was a knowing that something in my life was missing. Everything didn't feel quite right. Everything didn't feel aligned. And the question was, what is it? Why am I feeling this way? What do I want? What do I need? And how can I figure out what I want and need? And that feeling grew. I thought if I just continued doing what I was doing at the time, I was teaching. I thought if I continue doing this, then maybe things will change and I would feel better. Just give it some time. I'm going through something and it will go away. But it didn't. That feeling, that restless feeling, that desire, that yearning continued to build and build and build to a crescendo to the point where I could not take it anymore. And so in 2012, I said, this is it. I'm leaving my job for a self-care sabbatical. I want to go out into the world and see what the world has to offer, see what I have to offer the world. Because, and if we look back at how I lived my life, not saying that I have to live my life like anyone else, I never want to. I don't like boxes. I do not like constraints. I'm an Aquarian and I love freedom. I'm a free thinker. And so that's why I ended up thinking the way I started to think about my life. And when most of my friends were at university and they were doing things that young adults did in their 20s and 30s, I was a mom dedicated to caring for my children. And so it was kind of, I felt like I was living life in the reverse, like I was doing the things that my friends did when they were in their 20s. I was doing those things I started that in my 40s. So I was very close to 40 at the time. Ugh, can't do the math, somewhere around there. And I couldn't take it anymore. I had started experimenting with a business that had some success, but didn't last because I was just like throwing spaghetti on the wall, trying things out because my soul was yearning to explore the possibilities, to explore the passions that I had within me, to explore all these different buckets of creativity that exists within me that I didn't have the chance to explore. And again, that drum was so loud. I could not ignore it. Even if I wanted to ignore what was happening inside of me, I couldn't. And if I did ignore it, I believe I would be sick. I would, something awful might have happened to me. And so I built up the courage to take that leap, to jump, knowing that God, the universe, life would catch me. And so I did. I had the support of the people that were near and dear to me, and I ventured out into the world not knowing what the hell I wanted to do. I did not have a plan. It was just like, go live. And so it was kind of like I was living like 21-year olds were living when they just go off to university and life happens to them. That's kind of where I was at 40 years old, going out into the world and trying to figure out what was happening. So when that yearning began at around 2009, 10, somewhere around there, and accumulated and got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore and I left, It was now, you're in the world, what are you going to do? And so I started working on my business more. I had more time to work on my business and gave that some attention. That didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out, which was fine because I was learning. I dabbled in fashion. I worked for a fashion magazine for a while because, again, like I said in my last video, people would call me a fashionista, and I didn't think of myself as a fashionista. I have a unique sense of style. I have a sense of style. Sometimes it's unique, sometimes it may not be, but I have a sense of style that some people resonate with. And so I worked for this style magazine, writing columns for them for 2 years, doing wear it by day, wear it by night, and 10 essentials. And I was hopping around to New York Fashion Week, going to showrooms, had companies sending me clothing so that I can write about, etc. All the fun things and bells and whistles that comes with that kind of work. However, it became apparent to me really quickly. I stayed longer than I should have, but it became apparent to me that as much as I like style and appreciate fashion, this was not for me. I felt absolutely unfulfilled. It did absolutely nothing for me. And that's not how I wanted to feel. I didn't leave my job that I wanted to leave because it did not align with what I wanted to do with my life, to then go and spend my time in another job that I did not feel aligned with. And so I left. I said, you know what, Dixie, release this. Someone who really loves this job is waiting to do this job. So step away so that someone who belongs here can step in there. And so I did. I also became a health and wellness coach. Now, a self-care sabbatical, just so you know, is not the same as a sabbatical that teachers get when they get paid 85% of their salaries to go study. This was no pay. I literally resigned. So I call it a self-care sabbatical, but I resigned from my job and there was no money. I had to earn money in whatever ways that I could. Yes, I had the support of my loved ones and my husband, etc. So it's why I was able to have the opportunity to do this. And I wanted to do it because I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to live and I just felt stifled. And again, the downloads came and I answered the call. Became a health and wellness coach, loved it. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about how to teach people, adults, especially women, particularly, about their health and their well-being, how to understand and be in awareness of their health and what they can do to bring wellness into their lives, what they can do to create well-being scenarios in their lives, what they can do to be more expansive and be whole, some, right? As much as they can be and as much as, they want to be, because people have to make choices, right? About their lives. So coaching was great and it brought money into, my pockets. It was wonderful. I coached people individually, I coached people in groups, I had workshops, I had courses, etc. That was great. And then I started to dabble in business again. I started to dabble in entrepreneurship again. And this time I did so because of my own health issues. I had uterine fibroids, was in perimenopause, started to understand that in my research that a lot of the products that were being sold to women, especially women of color and Black women, had lots of toxicants in them, that had hormone disruptors in them that could affect people's bodies. And because I had uterine fibroids, I was very particular about the things that were in my food, about the xenoestrogens that I was being exposed to, anything that could offset my estrogen and feed the fibroids that were growing in my body, I paid attention to. So I'm not going to spend the time talking about all of that right now. But long story short, I started a business called Inside Out of Beauty Market, a brick and mortar retail and online retailer that won a national award for Best Small Indie Beauty Retailer. I started that business to bring on board indie beauty entrepreneurs who were creating products from very simple ingredients for people who were concerned about toxicants in beauty products, and also for people who had issues and skin concerns and whose bodies could not tolerate, externally, right, because maybe of allergens, etc., could not tolerate some of the ingredients that were in products. So there was a market for that, and I tapped into that market, and that closed in 2003, and life took another turn. At the same time, I became a an empty nester. My daughter went off to university, and I closed the business at the same time. And so I went into empty nesting, closed my business, and promptly started realigning, like, what is going on? It hit me like a brick, especially with my daughter gone. I had been a mother in a certain capacity since I was 19 years old. And not having anybody at home now, because that was my second daughter who's gone. The older one is off on her own, living her life. And now the second one was gone, and I felt really alone. So there was grief that came with that period of my life, closing my business and also ushering my youngest off to life. And I was like, what am I going to do with myself now? I don't have children who depend on me. So another level of growth happened. And here I am now, right? All of that is long stories short. But here I am now in this phase of my life where I'm excited. I moved from empty nesting to envision nesting, created a whole course around empty nesting to envision nesting, and that's inside of my community. I've not made it public to many people yet, but it's going to come eventually. It was a process that I had to be very patient with, and patience is one of my virtues. And the patience and the the releasing got me through. And of course, friends and family and my community got me through. Of course, I miss my children, but I'm good now. I'm good, and I'm ready to live this life as well as I possibly can, which is why I am here on YouTube, because I have this opportunity to do the things that I want to do, to lean into the things that excite me and that make me happy, to find the community that I am in alignment with, and to share the knowledge and the nuggets that I have and learn from the people who I am in community with. So that's kind of my life in a nutshell. Of course, there are tons of stories in between all of that, but I think the lesson there for me in all of it was literally what my grandmother said to me when I told her that I was thinking of taking a self-care sabbatical, when I told her that I was thinking of leaving my job. And that message was jump. God, the universe, and life will catch you. And it has caught me. They all have caught me, and they continue to catch me. And I trust and I have faith that that is going to happen with my work, with my eagerness, with my passion, with my purpose. The energy I give is the energy that's going to flow back to me. In Qigong, we have a saying, energy flows where the mind goes. And so I keep my mind on my vision and the things that I want to do and see in the world and the type of person I want to be. And with that thought, with those thoughts, energy flows toward it. So, yeah, that's day two for me. I am super excited. This is feeling really good. I'm getting very comfortable. I went back and I listened to the previous one, found some errors that I made and some things that I said that I was like, why did you say that? But I'm not going to take it down. It stays right there. This is the challenge that I'm having for myself to make this possible for me. So thank you for being here, and thank you for listening, and thank you for encouraging me. Send me some good energy because I am coming tomorrow with video 3. So see you then. Take care. Bye.